Jurors have gone home for the weekend after just a few short hours of deliberation following closing arguments from both the prosecution and the defense in the trial of Brian Walshe, the Cohasset man who is accused of killing his wife, 39-year-old Anna Walshe, back on New Year's Day in the early morning hours or the late hours of New Year's Eve. No, it wasn't the late hours of New Year's Eve. It was the early morning hours of New Year's Day, 2023. Now, several things happened in closing arguments today that I think that we probably want to take a look at. We want to take a close look at. So yeah, stick with me. Let's talk through it. What am I trying to say? Yeah, just stick with me. Here we go. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish, on the self-named YouTube channel. Indeed, it is named Gavin Fish. On this channel, while we are not creative in naming channels, we do like to get into the nitty-gritty of true crimes. And if that is your deal, then you're in the right place. And thanks for being here. I'm glad you're here. Hope you stick around. Of course, we are talking about the murder of Anna Walshe. We have been taking a close look at this case as it has been playing out publicly and being live streamed around the world because it is in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for the last 10 days. Oh, Dom's mom says, greetings from Seattle. Don't forget. I love this. Guys. You got to tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're from down in the comments. I want to know where you're tuning in from. Okay. Anna Walshe, 39 years old, mother of 3, had a little family gathering for New Year's 2022 going into 2023. They have a friend over. Everything's just fine. And then according to Brian Walshe, after the party was over, he just went down in the middle of the night to clean up the kitchen, because that's what one does after they have gone to bed on New Year's. They go down to clean the kitchen. When he came up, he says she was dead in bed. And what did he decide to do? Well, of course, what we would all decide to do. Go to the hardware store, buy a hacksaw, buy a hatchet, a hammer, some tin snips maybe, some shears, get some buckets, a Tyvek suit. That's what a normal person would do, because you got to get rid of the body, right? She died. We don't call the ambulance. We don't call the coroner. We don't call the funeral home. You know, I'm trying to remember, here in the States, there's like a 3-digit number that you can put into your phone when there are emergencies such as an unexpected death. It'll come to me. But yeah, it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid, the story that is being awoven in front of the jury's little noggins. And I am hoping, oh my goodness, I am so hoping that they are not convinced that there is reasonable doubt that Anna Walshe was murdered. Now, today, because the defense rested yesterday without calling a witness, without presenting a shred or an iota of evidence, they did not put Mr. Walshe on the stand. He decided not to testify. In my opinion, it's because they believe the Commonwealth did not meet its burden of proof, which I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's what they did. And so today was closing arguments by... Today was closing arguments. Today we had closing arguments by both the defense and the prosecution. Now, The defense spoke for about an hour. I think it was just shy of an hour. It was like 58 minutes or something like that. The prosecution was shorter. It was like half an hour. But I have gone through and I have grabbed a couple clips that I want to watch with you from both arguments. Before I do, though, let's go over to your comments and see where you guys are checking in from. Let's see. We have got Kentucky, one of my favorite lines in the Hollywood version of Last of the Mohicans from the 1990s is, how is it that there's a war and you're going to Kentucky? He goes, very easy. You just face north and real sudden like turn left. I love that. Welcome, Kentucky. Oh, we've got some news out of Kentucky that we're going to get to a little bit later. We got Seattle, Washington in the house. We got South Lake Tahoe. We got Maryland, Birmingham, Alabama. I'm sure they say Birmingham in Alabama. Jacksonville, Florida. Bradenton, Florida. Pennsylvania in the house. Tecumseh, Michigan in the house. We have got North Carolina. We've got Hickory, North Carolina. We've got Melbourne, Australia in the house. Thank you very much. Mount Gambier, Australia. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly or not. San Antonio, Texas. Western Kentucky. Medford, Oregon. So glad you guys are, and thank you all for checking in. I don't know. I just love that part. That's my favorite part. Okay. Come with me, if you will, to this little segment right here. Okay. This is, did I hit the wrong button? Give me a second. This is Mr. Tipton, the one of two defense counsel for Mr. Walshe. I have narrowed his hour-long closing argument down to 7 minutes and 46 seconds. These are the most important parts, in my opinion. I don't know. Who am I? I'm nobody. But this is my opinion, okay? I have bumped up the volume. It might be a little hot, so if you got headphones on, maybe start with them out a little bit, or earbuds, maybe pull them out just a little bit, because I think I did make it a little hot, but the sound was just awful. And so I've done my best to just bump it up so that we can hear it. Let's hear what Mr. Tipton has to say. This is joining about 3 minutes into the opening statement.
So, what would cause a loving husband and a loving father to do the things that you've heard about in this case?
Indeed. What indeed?
Could it be something that was sudden, something that was unexpected, something that was unbelievable, something that only a medical examiner would understand? How do we know that Mr. Walshe was a loving father and a loving husband?
I don't think we do.
We know from much of the testimony of Jim Motlow. We know from simple testimony from Julie Basler from KinderCare. When asked questions about her experience with Mr. Walshe and the children, that he would show up and he'd be interested and he'd be friendly, and he was always interested in the progress of his children. And how do we know he was a good father? Because Anna Walshe trusted him with...
By the way, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be a good father and a murderer at the same time. Like, the human animal is a complex beast. We are a complex organism. We can do things that are just seem completely dissonant from one another, and yet both things can be true at the same time. So who cares if he was a good father? I think he was also a murderer.
Their 3 children, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for all those times she was up in Washington, D.C. The unthinkable happens.
Yeah.
It happens in a variety of ways. And the Commonwealth must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that a homicide occurred, that a killing occurred. Nothing proves that beyond a reasonable doubt on the facts and circumstances and the evidence given to you.
That was a weird sound.
There's evidence that he lied to the police.
Yeah.
There's evidence that he searched the internet.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
There's evidence that he disposed of a body.
In garbage bags all over the city.
In all of the evidence that you have heard and been presented, that he ever once thought about harming the woman he loved. That he ever thought about harming the woman he loved. That he ever planned to harm. That he ever intended to harm. So, when we talk about the evidence of the affair, when we talk about evidence of financial concerns, when we talk about evidence of being afraid to go to prison, those are the motives that the Commonwealth needs to prove to you to support any notion that a loving husband and a loving father would kill his wife. And the evidence suggests there was no motive at all. And without a motive, without a reason that is based on facts and circumstances, logic and understanding, without that, you have a sudden and unexpected event that results in confusion, and panic, and fear.
Let me just pause that for a second. First of all, there doesn't have to be a motive to prove murder. I mean, we all want a motive. We love knowing what the motive was. But that's not one of the elements that the prosecution has to prove. That's a complete red herring. And the fact that the idea that one would go direct to the hacky-hacky, choppy is a ridiculous thing to even imagine. And like I said, he can be a loving father. He can even be a loving husband and not be a good husband. Right? Oh my goodness. It's just, yeah. Okay. Next clip.
The dark, troubling evidence of the searches.
Yeah.
They began at 4:52 a.m. on January 1st of 2023. And the first one is, how do you dispose of a body? It causes chills. It causes disgust. Look at all of those searches. Think of how they evolved. Consider how they go from one subject to another in rapid fashion. Searches conducted by a man that is in disbelief, in confusion. 5 hours spending with his wife on New Year's Eve, enjoying life, talking about the future. And then the sudden and unexpected tragedy happens, and it doesn't make sense.
You know, this argument that he keeps on coming back to, it was sudden, it was unexpected. It was a tragic event, and therefore he just wasn't prepared for it. Guys, I wonder, Mr. Tipton specifically, but let's just say in general. Now, I think that most defense attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, probably rationalize their argument because they must make an argument, and it's important to do for, for the system to work. We need good defense attorneys, and we need them to make their best effort at defending their client. We need that. We want that. But I wonder if he goes home and just giggles. Like, I cannot believe what I said with a straight face today. I wonder if that happens. Because nobody says to themselves, oh, this was sudden and unexpected. Let's buy a hacksaw. Nobody does that.
If Mr. Walshe began to make those searches with murder in his heart as a result of murder, then why isn't the first search how to dispose of a body after murder? Because that's the search that occurred 6 hours later. And when you see that word murder, no one would not react to that word. And certainly, as jurors in this matter, you're expected to react in a way to that. What does that mean? Does that mean that he, in fact, murdered his wife? But think about it in context. In this case, on these facts, context matters.
Okay, tell us the context.
And so the first time the word murder is used in these horrific searches is 6 hours after they began. And I tried to ask Trooper Garino, one of the forensic specialists, as he called himself, associated with the Mass State Police. I tried to ask him, well, it's only logical, isn't it, that if you don't get results, you change the wording. We all know that from our own common experience. And you look at those searches that came and went during this time, and the results had to do with funeral parlors and cemeteries and things like that. But Mr. Walshe,
okay,
given the tragedy that occurred to his wife, and given the time that had passed and his fear and disbelief, he couldn't call a funeral parlor.
Why not?
He tried to understand, what can I do?
Well, yes, you could have. Your client could have called a
Then
funeral
the searches become
parlor.
darker. They become more upsetting. Now the thought is dismemberment. And there's searches like that. You've heard about them. You'll read about them.
Give me a break.
And then you see searches that cover days. And there's searches about cleaning. And there's searches about how to clean up. You'll read them. And even though they don't talk about murder, they are equally upsetting, because you're thinking, as jurors in this case, he's thinking about cleaning up the basement.
Yeah,
He's
a murder
thinking
scene.
about how you clean a concrete
A
floor.
choppy scene. Come on.
Context.
Yes, context. Okay. Yeah. So again, it's very important that we have a good, competent defense for, for defendants, for sure. We definitely want to give them the benefit of the benefit that they are innocent until proven guilty. But I feel like the proof was pretty damning in this one. Carol says an autopsy could have shown a genetic anomaly that could impact her sons. Okay. Hey, Grizzly Bebo from My Home Turf, Sacramento, California. Mooney, thank you very much for the gift memberships. You are awesome. Bodil, thank you for joining us from Norway. That's pretty awesome. It's just, Haslam to Choppy Choppy. Oh, I think that's the comment of the day. That is very, very good. So funny. So funny. All right. So I just feel like he has to give the jury something to doubt about, right? And He's done the best that he possibly can. All right. Let's see. Cheryl says, I hear he's a great lawyer. His client left him with a hard case to defend. Brian Walshe most certainly did this, in my opinion, because who cut up their loved ones after a sudden death? Well, Cheryl's, it was sudden and unexpected. Of course you would cut up your loved one. No, you're right. You're right. I think Mr. Tipton is a good lawyer. I mean, I'm not a legal scholar or a law professor or anything like that, but I think he's doing a good job. He's doing the best that he can. Okay, so let's move on over to the prosecution, shall we? This is Ms. Yas, or Yas. I've cut this to about 9.5 minutes. A couple clips. You'll see the little white flash when you see my cuts. Here we go.
Anna Walshe is dead. Anna Walshe is dead because he murdered her, and he intended her death. Anna Walshe is not missing. She never walked out of her Cohasset home on January 1st of 2023 between 6 and 7 a.m. to take an Uber to Logan Airport. She wasn't going to DC for a work emergency. There was no emergency. She didn't say goodbye to her son. That's just a story that the defendant told people. But since January 1st, Anna Walshe has not been seen by her friends, or co-workers, or by the people who love her. Anna Walshe dying a sudden death from natural causes defies common sense.
Indeed.
She was in great shape. The defendant told police that Anna was a sturdy Serbian woman. Listen carefully to his recorded interviews, because those are his words after her death, after he killed her. Mark Salvaggi told you that Anna had the highest health rating of the life insurance company. Anna had to complete an interview, have blood drawn, provide her medical records, and the life insurance company and the underwriters gave her this health rating. Anna was an active person who took care of her health. Ashley Semino, her bar instructor, told you about this exercise class that she took the morning of December 31st of 2022. And Anna was the type of person, she said, who made others want to work harder in their exercise class. Will Fastel told you that Anna was very active and did yoga together. Sergeant Amy Waterman described Anna's home gym.
Yeah, probably.
And Dr. Atkinson told you about the different ways a person can die, and that it's extremely rare for a 39-year-old in good health to suddenly die of unknown causes. But without a body, it's not possible for the medical examiner to tell you the exact cause of Anna Walshe's death. No autopsy can be done. The defendant deliberately got rid of Anna Walshe's body. The defendant did not want anyone to find Anna's body and to know how she died. So the defendant bought cutting tools at Lowe's and Home Depot, and he cut up Anna's body, the woman that he claimed to love, and he threw her into dumpsters. He was hiding her.
You know, the thing that she's forgetting in her argument here is that he loved her. That's what she's forgetting. No, Ms. Yes, he was a loving husband. No, I think she's making a strong point here. No, he says he loves her, but how does that square? He chopped her up. I mean, man, I hope the jury doesn't do something stupid here. I really don't. I really hope not.
can you be charged with murder without a body? Anna was dead. The defendant killed her, and he began researching how to get her money, how to inherit, how to get away with the crime. And he might have gotten away with it, but he didn't know.
If it weren't for meddling kids, I guess.
Was syncing with his son's iPad, the same Apple ID.
Yeah, he got unlucky there, didn't he?
His career changed during the interview on January 8th when the police mentioned the searches on the iPad. Not because the iPad involved his children. He had already involved the children in his lives. But because he knew he was caught. We know he had already involved the 6-year-old when he had the 6-year-old say that he saw his mother when she left the house on the morning of January 1st. The son could not have seen Anna leave the house. The defendant had already killed her. Listen to the recorded interviews. During the January 5th interview, the defendant spoke about what his son supposedly had seen. And the defendant involved the 4-year-old by saying that the 4-year-old hid the defendant's iPhone 13 mini. So, the defendant's phone made a reservation at Nightshade Noodle Bar for New Year's Day, after the defendant told Anna that they were going to have a special party. This is ironic because the defendant was very clear with police on January 7th that he and Anna had no plans for New Year's Day, and the defendant also knew that he would be violating the terms of his federal probation by going to a restaurant on New Year's Day. But let's look closely at Exhibit 170 about the Nightshade Noodle reservation, which was on the defendant's iPhone Mini 13, which the defense just said was deleted. And if you look on page 2, on the bottom of one of the bubbles, you will see that the message was deleted on January 1st at 7:59 and 5 seconds.
Mooney, I read that comment in the voice of Keith Morrison. But little did he know, he's a terrible criminal.
Yeah. This happens to be one of the times that the iPhone Mini 13 was unlocked when it was supposed to be missing. The forensics show that the defendant's phone was unlocked 4 times and it was plugged in on January 1st. You heard testimony that the phone had a password of 197512. And in the January 4th recorded interview, you hear the oldest child needed help with his iPad password, which was 121212. The children didn't unlock the defendant's phone.
Oops.
The defendant blamed his misplaced phone on one of his children when he said that the children hid it. But it makes no sense that a 4-year-old somehow unlocked the defendant's phone and deleted that text reminder. Listen to the defendant's recorded interview. The deletion is made when the defendant is supposedly making French toast and playing with the kids. The defendant had access to his phone. Context. The defendant also had access to 2 other phones when his phone was supposedly lost. He had Anna's phone and he had the iPhone SE. And in the recorded interviews, the defendant told police that on New Year's Eve, Anna had an argument with a friend, and as a result, Anna put her phone upstairs in his bedroom. The defendant prevented anyone from ever finding Anna's body, and there was no autopsy. Dr.
Exactly.
Atkinson told
Yep.
you that the medical examiner can't do an autopsy without a body, and all that remains of Anna are a few hairs, some blood, and a few things that belong there. part of a necklace she often wore, her hunter boots, a black jacket, a purse, her COVID card, and a few other items in the dumpster in his mother's apartment complex. The defendant searched his MacBook for a murder conviction with alibi. Please do not allow the defendant's self-serving act of dismembering and disposing of Anna's body to let him get away with this murder. At the start of this trial, we asked you to use your common sense. When you do that, when you analyze the evidence as you deliberate and continue to use your common sense, you will see that the evidence shows there is only one verdict. Find the defendant is guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Anna Walshe. Thank you.
Let's see. Give me a second. I want to see what you guys have to say. I'm going to put a poll here. All right. Tell me what you think. What do you think the jury is going to come back with? I think that these were compelling arguments. And I was going to say, I think both sides made good cases, but only one side made a case, right? And I think that the prosecution, through their 50 witnesses, forensics experts, digital forensics experts, medical examiners, friends, co-workers, shop owners, and employees of Home Depot and Lowe's. And I mean, it was police officers, investigators. It was so much. And so I think if they came back with anything other than guilty of murder one, then we've got some problems with this jury. Now, let's bring Anna back up here. There were a couple comments earlier about, I don't think that somebody said, that premeditation, that they didn't think that premeditation had been proven. And and somebody already said it. I think it was Steph who said it. That premeditation can happen in a moment, or maybe Mooney said it. I'm sorry, but premeditation can happen in a moment. There's no minimum amount of time for premeditation to happen. If you just decide, hey, I want to kill that person, and then you do it, and that entire time took a quarter of a second. You've got a gun leveled at somebody, and you're like, I just want them to leave me alone. You know what? No, I want to kill this person. Squeeze the trigger. That's premeditation. And as long as the prosecution can prove it, then it's there. So that's where I am. Now, you guys on the poll, 95% of you say guilty, 5% say not guilty. And I see a couple of comments. Emily Hart thinks M1 or M2. Kathy with Grace thinks M1. Yeah, I don't know. I always go back to the words delivered on Men in Black by the incomparable and amazing Tommy Lee Jones. A person as smart people are stupid, and it's very difficult to know what a group of people are going to do. And sometimes, guys, those deliberations become negotiations. And I've told you this story so many times, but when I was on that jury for a double homicide, I could not believe when we got into the deliberation room that my fellow jurors were looking at the same trial the whole time. I could not believe it. So, yeah, and in my case, it did kind of come down to negotiation. We ended up one murder one and one murder two, one count of murder one, one count of murder two. Cheryl says your title for the video is spot on and funny. Thank you. Emily Hart says murder 1 or murder 2. Has there ever been a case like this where they are innocent from the jury, where the jury comes back as not guilty? I'm sure. I can't think of a nobody case. Nobody cases making it to a trial is actually a relatively new thing, like 40 years. So, but I would imagine that there is a case like this somewhere. I just can't think of it. Yeah, I tried because of my system. I could only do 2 options, so that's why I did it that way. But thanks, Emily. Okay, so that's where we are. Dread 1058 says, I read the jury was not permitted to know that he pled guilty to chopping her up. Gavin, do you know? From what I understand, they were not allowed to know that he pleaded guilty to it, but they were allowed to know that he did do the deed. So they are just deciding on whether he murdered her or not, I guess, at this point. And juror deliberations will continue on Monday morning. So we will be on jury watch. They get to take the weekend, which is pretty great. And Debbie confers that is correct. They cannot know about the guilty pleas at the start of the trial. So that's where we are now. But we're not at the end of this here live stream because we got a couple segments to do. Let's get into headlines. We got some big news.
True crime headlines.
Hey, Tanya Jones, our resident lawyer, says, before we get into headlines, Gavin, a nobody case where they admit to dismemberment has got to be a first. The jury was told he pleaded guilty to it in the choppy in the judge's rules. Okay. 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 Kathy with Grace. Thank you for the super chat, Kathy. With Grace. Thanks for all you do covering this and your thoughts. My pleasure. That is what I'm here for. Okay, we already did the headlines little segment thing. So come over with me to Acrobat, William, and a couple of headlines that I want to bring you up to date on. Do you guys remember the Rebecca Baptiste case? Headline says Arizona DCS identifies key issues in Rebecca Baptiste case. The Arizona Department of Child Safety has completed a months-long internal review of Rebecca Baptiste's case. The 10-year-old's death is one of 3 murders of children known to the department this year. While a report is still being finalized, DCS sent ABC 15 a list of key issues they have identified in their review. Remember that this family had been on the DCS's radar and with their involvement, and then they just kind of disappeared. They went out to live in a yurt in rural Arizona. So they kind of lost track. Anyway, scrolling down, I'm just going to, where is it? Key issues that they've identified is incomplete information from individuals who call the hotline. They say that mandated reporters often don't have all the information because they've just been told something from somebody else, and that is an issue. Turnover and workload. I would imagine, let me read this one. High turnover, low pay, intense caseloads, and overwhelmed supervisors impact the quality of case outcomes and increase burnout. I would imagine so. That's a tough job. It's a tough job. Key issue number 3, engagement of a parent's significant other. The department noted challenges in engaging significant others who often decline services. The courts cannot mandate their participation. As a result, staff may focus primarily on the biological parent, reducing advocacy for evaluating or supporting the significant other's role in the household, then yeah, that looks like that needs to be a legislative remedy. Legal and judicial relationships. DCS's relationship with the legal and judicial community is strained by differing priorities and communication challenges. Frequent program changes, regional differences, and limited training contribute to misunderstandings about available services. Staff reliance on prior interactions. The review found that staff frequently rely on historical reports and coworkers' knowledge of a family's past involvement in DCS. The review found the staff sometimes rely on prior case information and their own and coworkers' knowledge of the family's past with DCS. This reliance on historical findings and information influences how staff receive information and make decisions during new investigations. So it does look like they're trying to make some positive changes here. It's too late for little Rebecca. Do you guys remember little Rebecca? Look at this little girl. Oh, heartbreaking. Her parents are now, well, her dad and her stepmom are charged in her murder. So that is number one. Number two, 3 corrections staff are on leave following Slenderman stabber Morgan Geyser's escape. We've been following this, but this came out a couple of days ago. 3 Wisconsin Department of Corrections staff members are on administrative leave as the department investigates the escape last month of a woman convicted of a stabbing when she was in middle school. Blah, 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 blah. A timeline of events from the Madison Police Department said someone from the group home reported Geyser as a missing person to the police department nearly 12 hours after she was last seen at the home. This was the first time the Madison Police Department was made aware that Geyser was missing, the timeline said. Let's see. The letter said the reports of the timeline raised serious questions about the ability of the DOC's community corrections program to handle its responsibilities. So, yeah, three DOC personnel are on leave on this one. I don't know that will make it. It seems to me that this has gotten political. Therefore, I doubt anything's going to improve. Maybe it's just Friday and I'm tired. Maybe I need to get a little, like my mom would say, do you want me to slap some happy into you? Maybe I just need to get happy. Turn that frown upside down, fish. And, or maybe I'm right. I don't know. Either way. Okay, last headline I want to bring to you guys. And I got some documents in this, so we might be talking about this on Monday. We finally have a date for Mickey Stein's next hearing. This coming to us from Mountaintop Media, Dateline, Whitesburg, Kentucky. A hearing has been scheduled in the case of former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins. Steins is charged with murder for shooting. Let me bring this one up. For shooting Letcher District Judge Kevin Mullins multiple times in his chambers on September 19th, 2024. The entire incident was captured on security cameras. Here is our victim, Judge Mullins. On Thursday, Special Judge Christopher Corin scheduled a hearing in Letcher Circuit Court for 1:30 p.m. Thursday, December 18th. The hearing is intended to get an update on where the case stands from the prosecution and defense attorneys, as well as hear all pending motions. There is a bail motion pending. The only motions that are currently pending before the court are a defense request to set bond and a prosecution motion to move the trial somewhere besides Letcher County or any of the counties surrounding it. However, additional motions could be filed prior to next week's hearing. And so I will keep my finger on the pulse on that one. And those are our headlines. Now, let's move right into our final segment of the show. Let's get into 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! You guys know the rules. Okay? In this segment, I will answer 3 questions that you yourselves have sent in. If you have a question for me, it could be about anything. Nothing is off the table. Everything is on the table. That's the better way to say that. Everything's on the table. You can ask me whatever you want. Just email your questions, 3questions@gavinfish.com. It is spelled out THREE, 3questions@gavinfish.com. And let's see what today's questions bring us. Question number 1 is, top 3 cases you want immediate resolution, justice for the victims. Well, the very top of that list is Ellen Greenberg. Very top. Tippy top is Ellen Greenberg. And there is only not resolution because of politics, and it drives me crazy. Number 2, Amanda Winkowski. I want Erie County, New York to admit that she was murdered and investigate it properly. We are now 1 year away, less than a year away, for Amanda's, well, I would call him a suspect in her murder. In less than a year, he is going to get, if I remember correctly, I think it's 2026. He's going to get out of prison. He's going to hurt someone else. And he is a person that belongs in jail for the rest of his life. So we've got Ellen, we've got Amanda. You know, one that I would really love to have some resolution to. This is an early one for me. One that I worked on early in my little YouTube journey. And that is the case of Shelby Thornburg. That one comes out of Houston, Texas. If you guys don't know about this case, if you go over to gavinfish.com and click on cases, there are several in here that are important to me. And if you scroll on down, you will find, where is Shelby? I went right past her. There she is. You'll find Shelby Thornburg. Shelby was murdered in her apartment in Houston, Texas, November 4th of 2015. That is one that I would love some resolution on. All right, question number 2. Oh, I think I did it backwards. Okay. Am I a good cook? No, not really. I'm not a good cook. My mom was a good cook. Kimberly's a good cook. Kimberly says she's not a good cook, but she is a good cook. Her maybe signature dish is homemade mac and cheese, which is a little different now because we are a gluten-free home now because of our daughter's celiac disease. So it's not quite as good as it once was, but it's still pretty freaking delicious. She's a good cook, and she's very well known in our family for her amazing salads. She's awesome. But am I a good cook? There are a few things that I know how to make. I do make good empanadas. I make good empanadas, and I do different ones. I do, I'll do the savory stuff. I'll do the ham and cheese. I'll do, chicken empanadas. I'll do beef empanadas. But then I'll also do the dessert ones. Little dulce de batata. Yeah, I'm good at those. I'm a very good baker. I love making my own bread. However, because of the aforementioned celiac disease, our house is and will forever be a gluten-free place. And so I don't do that anymore. And I do love making pizza, and I have a pretty darn amazing recipe for gluten-free pizza crust, which is made out of Brazilian cheese bread. And it's a little recipe that I made that I'm pretty darn good at. And so there are a couple things that I'm good at, but no, I don't think there's anything else. Kimberly makes this dish that in our family we call Nauvoo potatoes. In other places they call funeral potatoes. Listen, if you don't know Mormon funeral potatoes, you gotta, okay? They're so good. Kimberly makes amazing Nauvoo potatoes. She learned that from her mom, who learned it from her mom, who learned it from her mom, all the way back to the pioneers that crossed the frigid plains. All right, and question number 3. Gavin, if you could not have this career, journalism, media, YouTube, what do you think you would be doing? No wishful thinking. Well, my dream when I was a kid, you just said no wishful thinking. Dang it. But I'll tell you my dream anyway. When I was a kid, my dad worked in aerospace, specifically in propulsion, specifically in rocketry, specifically in solid fuel boosters. So I was just smitten by, and also being a Gen Xer, I was smitten by the space race, but I was smitten by all things aviation. And so my plan was to be either, I wanted Air Force, but it could have been Navy, a Navy pilot, Air Force pilot, and then try out for NASA and go into the whole astronaut training. That was my dream, and that's what I was working toward. Unfortunately for me, when I was in 8th grade, I went to go get glasses, and I got a diagnosis of severe, what we refer to as color blindness. It's not really color blindness, but a severe color deficiency, and that made it impossible for me to be any type of commercial pilot, which meant no military, no NASA, no nothing. So I guess if I were wishfully thinking, I would be a pilot. But since I'm not wishfully thinking, yeah, at this point in my life, comedy would be fun. I think of like Bob Newhart, who was an accountant and in his 50s decided to, or maybe it's earlier than that, his 40s, he decided to try comedy and he smashed it. He just killed it, so maybe comedy. I do enjoy making people laugh. But honestly, at this point in my life, I honestly don't care what I do. And one of the things that I'm maybe criticized for, fairly or unfairly, one of the things that I'm criticized for is that I did not pick a career path and stick with it. I tried college. I hated college. I did well in college, hated it. So I went to work for a company called Packard Bell NEC that offered on-the-job technical training. And then, so I went to, they called it Packard Bell University, and I learned all sorts of things in computer science and information technology, mostly starting in information technology and then kind of going into computer science. And that's what it looked like my career was going to be. I lost a job pretty early on in our marriage. In fact, I showed you that picture of the day that the day I got laid off, and Kimberly said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "We're going to go flying." I think I showed that picture. I got laid off that day, and kind of the .com bubble had burst at that point. And so I couldn't find work. So I started my own company. I'm going to look for that photo. I started my own company to, oh no, I didn't upload it to this tank, to help small and medium-sized businesses with their IT needs. Kimberly and I were able to sell that company, and then we started another company, which was a huge, huge, huge failure. It was completely outside of my expertise. And then I went to work in high-end audio. And so I did high-end audio for a long time. And now I am a reporter and a YouTuber. My career path has been jagged. It has been straight, STRAIT, not STRAIGHT, or however. It has been difficult, rocky and jagged. At this point in my life, I really enjoy doing YouTube, though. Man, it's been tough, guys. It has been tough. I think I'm going to lose money in December. For the first time. It's been really tough. And I'm very appreciative of those of you who support me, man. You guys are awesome. But anyway, I am at a point in my life where I don't care what it is that I do, as long as it provides for my family and for our retirement. I would do anything, and would happily do so. And I'm not looking for another job, but hey, if something came my way that was lucrative and would accomplish my goals, I would take that job. I think I would stick with YouTube because I enjoy it so much and it doesn't take too much time. But what I really hope is that YouTube becomes the thing. Let me just check. So those are your 3 questions. Gavin
It's
Fish.
3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Yow. All right. So, Dreed 1058, last comment of the day. Is it Dreed or Dreed? Do you think his defense was actually competent? I think his final arguments were ridiculous. Yeah, I think that there is a difference between a competent defense and I think competent and ridiculous can coexist. Yeah, he made what I think on its face is a ridiculous argument, but I think it was the only argument that he could make. And I think it, as a competent attorney, he had to choose to go that route. And so, yeah, I think that's, yeah. Hope that answers. Let's see. Anna Banana 123 says, straight, I love that. I'm 46 and just finished graduate school this semester. Ah, good on you. And got a new job with the degree in September. Took me 5.5 years working in warehouses to go to school. Anna Banana, not Anna Banana, Anna Banana 123. You are a great example for the rest of us. Good job. That is amazing. You know, years ago, in our congregation, years and years ago, I think Kimberly and I were still I think we had just bought our first house. And we had this Sunday school teacher who was like, she seemed like she was like 110 years old, but she was probably like in her 80s. And she had decided in her 50s that she wanted to be a lawyer. And she went to law school and she, worked and did the bar, passed the bar, hung a shingle, and became known as one of the greats in the area for her particular field of the law. So yeah, it's never too late. We can all be Bob Newhart. We can be Anna Banna. We can be Elizabeth Jones, right? That's pretty freaking awesome. You are a terrific example for us. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, guys, we're not going to be back tomorrow because it's the weekend, but we will be back on Monday. We will be talking a bit about Kevin Mullins, Mickey Steins. We will be on jury verdict watch on a Walshe case and anything else. Yeah, be an Anna Banna. Just don't be Brian Walshe. That's a great way to finish it. Thanks, guys. I bid you adieu, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.